center, but also Beijing is one of the largest cities in the world. For most of Chinese, Beijing is a name of mixture with modernity and antiquity. And it's less possible for me as an individual to make a definition of Beijing style. But yet, I would like to present my understanding on Beijing style to all of you and wish you could have an opportunity to visit Beijing and experience what Beijing style is. Let's have a very common question. What is fashion? Well, yesterday we all listened to the presentation of Neil Delay. Did I say that wrong? No. Then I realized that my understanding, especially meeting the technology part, well, I realized that my understanding of fashion was as shallow as the people when I'm going to criticize. Well, but I still want to share them, you know. Well, when it's come to fashion, well, everyone could have an answer. Well, I agree with that. Fashion is a lifestyle, and which to connect everything that seems irrelevant. It shall not be understood as a famous brand or fancy show or vanity fair. Fashion involves everyone and demonstrates a kind of positive attitude of human beings and towards the pursuit of a better life. Initially, the understanding of fashion is indeed shallow. Well, as I just said, me too. Well, especially a few years ago in China, or even now. Well, fashion is better defined as trend. Well, I a little bit doubt that. Well, fashion is supposed to be the perfect integration of materials and great ideas, and which is the demonstration of personalities released, but also is the most forward-looking cultural ideology and the reflection of inner power, and is the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Oh, sorry, no. Nowadays, well, if you have anyone in the street and ask him or her about the fashion problem, and everyone could have different opinions. Well, typically for the post-80s and 90s generations, just like me, well, fashion is already integrated into their lifestyle. Well, in metropolis such as Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou in China, well, younger generations will inherently lead the fashion trends in the society. Okay. Well, as a result of the revival of Chinese culture, Beijing, as its a capital city, also identified it as a place outputting the most sophisticated fashion ideas. Beijing is now the artistic and fashion and cultural center for China, while art and fashion have never been separated. Beijing is known as the capital of museum, with 151 registered museums, put it the world's second largest museum holders, well, only second to London. Well, the National Museum is reputed as the world's biggest museum, and the Palace Museum and is rated as the world's top 5 grand museums. Right here, the artistic performance market is highly prosperous, with over 10,000 concerts and dramas and operas being operated every year in over 100 sites. The profound of art atmosphere cannot live without several art districts, and typically, District 708 is one of the most typical art districts in Beijing. It's interesting that 708 used to be a location for state-owned industrial factories, and since 2001, artists from Beijing outskirts and circumadjacent areas started assembling in this region. And with particular art acumen, this group of artists discovered that this district was extremely favorable to hold artistic activities. With careful study, and they decided to make full use of the Bauhaus design style constructions and transform them into an art exhibition and creation space and studio. Well, till now, 798 has attracted extensive attention from media and the public, and therefore it was identified as a new landmark for urban culture in Beijing. Well, practitioners in 798 include those working for design and publication, exhibition, performance, and art, but also the boutique home furnishing and fashion bars and cater services. 798 incorporates a plenty of features. First of all, 798 is located in Beijing, and therefore it incorporates several unique Chinese elements. Despite that, 798 is a tolerant culture melting pot with different cultural elements from the US, France, Germany, and Japan, and so on. And it is the experimental area for art. Also, it's contemporary. Its landscapes contains art elements from each period following the foundation of China, including the very beginning period, the construction period, the Cultural Revolution period, and the opening and reform period. 798 is a fashionable place that allows everything to coexist. Well, the third, the very original positioning of 798 was to create a space for artistic creation. The focus on creativity and originality is why District 798 could be highly developed and competitive. The 751D Park Fashion Palace is also a renovated building. Well, currently, there are nearly 200 culture and art institutions entering in this district. Well, with at least 300 artists living in 798 or regarding it as their primary artistic creation space. Additionally, other places such as Winery Art International Art District and Songzhang International Art District and Glassland District and Number 64 and so on are all very attractive. But I have to say that as the time goes by, this foundation theory of those places should go with the time as well. Visually, Beijing's fashion atmosphere is capricious. There are a lot of fashion streets widely distributed in Beijing. Well, here is a typical one. The first impression that Sanlitun leaves on visitors is that this is an open-type shopping mall combined with the bar street that emphasize the geometrical aesthetic value, where there are a lot of fashion brands and stores in Sanlitun, which represent Beijing's fashionable vitality. The southern and the northern spatial distribution represent extravagance and public trends. Well, cultural diversity here attracts a large number of young people to visit here, which feel of comfortable and colorful and feel alive. Noticeably, the materials of Sanlitun village were used from glasses and plastic pipes, with certain timbers and stalks and bamboos were perfectly integrating these materials into the design style, where top brands and stores can own a building at the same time show their storefront in three-dimensional. The design of the village is the reflection of the architecture idea of Kengo Kuma, a Japanese designer, who is based on a concept proposing that it is a small city rather than a shopping mall, will find balance between fashion and business. The style of the city is contributed by people there. The strong attraction of Beijing makes a large number of young people with unique personalities to assemble as Beijing in attempt to pursue their fashion career. The profound commercial atmosphere makes many famous brands and large-size shopping malls and fashion culture magazines all located in Beijing, and cultivates fashion sensitivity. The art of the street nap may be a good way to reflect how fashionable young people are. The photographers are hunting in each fashion street for those young people who are walking with confidence, and the camera captures how these young people explore their youth and uninhabited and foresights. From my perspective, Beijing hasn't done enough in liberating the desire to fashion. Overall, Beijing's fashion industry is still behind some fashion cities such as London, Paris, New York, Milan, and Tokyo, and maybe somewhere else. But it has only been decades since China's fashion industry was thus needed more effort to popularize. Well, undoubtedly, what remains most attractive in Beijing is not the eventual fancy effect of the city, but the strong pursuit of fashion. People get used to receiving latest information and know market trends. There are more tolerant and supportive independent designers and original brands. Beijing's history and future development make it what it is, and while the antiquity of Beijing seems to redefine fashion, the ancient constructions that distributed orderly in Beijing have already been integrated into the ordinary lifestyle of Beijing people. Well, indeed, such a big city will also have the small emotional appeal. The sophisticated Oriental cultural elements inspires practitioners in design, art, movie, creation industry to have countless art ideas around Beijing. It is fair to conclude that people working for different fields will find out what they are pursuing. By the way, it is said that Baz Luhrmann, the director of The Great Gatsby, revival that it was on an international express from Beijing that he got the idea to produce The Great Gatsby. And Patrice Lecomte, the French director, at the time when he was producing the Beijing Olympic advertising, and claimed that Beijing was where antiquity and met modernity, and where romantic met poetic. Chen Man, a local Chinese designer, focused on the nice sentiment of Beijing in one of her series, in which she used the Chinese model and with the Beijing quadrangle dwellings and Tiananmen Square and the Great Wall, and as a background to produce a visual feast that demonstrates the feature of modernity. In fact, there are certain misunderstandings on China's style. In earlier stage, the works from Chinese designers improperly used the Chinese elements, but as a result, these works caused the dissatisfaction of the of the audience on China's style. In recent American meatball exhibition, where dresses are all in form of dragon robe or blue-white porcelains, and the lack of diversity is indeed contributed by the improper understanding of fashion elements, Chinese elements. Well, this should be partly attributed to the previous Chinese designers. Well, China is not simply a country. Sorry, this is bad pictures. Just reform. Well, China is not simply a country of history. But despite of the historical elements, the applicable Chinese elements are more than just the blue and white and red patterns. Well, these are a lot of artistic pursuing. That's on purpose. I don't want to see any ugly pictures again. There are a lot of artistic pursuing minimalism and any other kind of artistic style as well. Well, China is currently the second largest country of consumption of luxury products. In addition to the focus on developing big national brands, well, China, especially in Beijing, is paying more and more attention to cultivate the independent designers who are growing up in the conflicts between the design and the commercial interests, where they are expecting to work on a direction on which both the artistic pursuit and the commercial interests could coexist with each other. Well, let me make an example, BNC. Well, BNC is short for Brand New China. Well, the Chinese translation of BNC is using the pronunciation of the first letter and transformed to peppermint and sticky rice and green onion. That Chinese word, does that mean? Well, it's quite interesting. Well, it is representative example platform for sharing original design concepts in China. The successful establishment of BNC sets up a communication channel between the consumer and the designers, which allows the products, especially garments, to match the demand of commercial market. Additionally, BNC is also a perfect platform for designers to test the popularity of their works. The atmosphere in Beijing independent design is more favorable. William Xing, an independent designer, argued that people in Beijing had a clear idea about what they're going to wear. Typically, the young people who understand fashion more will less consider the opinions of others. This atmosphere is exceptionally important for those who start working as an independent designer. However, the founder of the BNC contended that many independent designers in China were more like the artists who know nothing about the market. So this is why young designers who expect to explore their career have to act like a businessman who have perfect enterprise at the same time know more about necessary business knowledge. China's fashion market is more like in the US rather than in Europe. However, China's fashion industry is lack of cultural basis. Overall, the customers are less mature than those customers in Europe and the US market. Thus, the local designers have to be more proactive and rather than waiting for the acceptance of the customers, they have to find out their position in the market, and this is a both-side effort either. Beijing is a history and future development make it what it is, but yet the Chinese culture and together with the uniqueness of the city features and more like tradition, fashion, and innovation combined together and contributes to a kind of typical contradictory and mixed Beijing style. Well, I hope that everyone in this project could enjoy your time in Beijing very soon. Thank you.